Okay, unit circle points. So we've talked about on the unit circle that your coordinates on a unit circle are that, because when you do these ratios on the unit circle, your R is really 1. So when you divide by 1, you just have your X and your Y. Okay, so that's the understanding there. So here's an example. A point on the unit circle in quadrant 3 has an x-intercept, or an x-coordinate, sorry, of -7/25. Find the cosecant of the angle. Okay, so we know that cos of the angle equals x over r equals -7/25 over 1, or just -7/25. Okay, so if we're drawing this in quadrant 3, that's what we have, -7/25, and 1 is our r, so we need to find our y. So I'm going to go 1 squared subtract 7/25 squared. So that's, I'm going to put them over 625. So I get 576 over 625, and I square root that, and I get 24 over 25. Okay, and I'm in quadrant 3, so that is going to be a negative number. So finding the cosecant, okay, so now I know, let's go, the sine of the angle is the y value divided by the r. So that's the sine. So if I do cosecant, that's the opposite of sine. So now I would have -25 over 24, so I flip that around. Okay? So as you can see, that if we had this as our triangle, that our numbers will be the exact same if we just think about it as a proportional and times everything by 25, and that everything will be the exact same if you think about that as your ratios as well. It's just a proportional triangle. Okay? So we could do our math, which is using these as our x, y, and our r numbers instead of using the fractions. Okay, so let's try one that way instead. A point on the unit circle has a y-coordinate of -5 over 13, and it's in quadrant 4. Find secant of the angle. Okay, so we're in quadrant 4. So now I'm going to do that as my y, my r, and I need to find my x. Okay, so 13 squared minus 5 squared is 144. So this is going to be 12. Is it a positive or negative? It's a positive. Okay, so secant is dealing with cos. So if I know my cos of my angle is x over r, so therefore secant angle is 13/12. Okay, you can do this step if you want, or you can memorize those ratios and just go straight to there. Now you might be asked this instead. If a point of an angle has coordinates of 3/5, negative 4/5, find the point coordinates of the angle minus pi over 2. Okay, so let's think about this. X positive, y negative. It's in this quadrant, and this means that you're going 90 degrees backwards. Okay, so when you make a rotation of 90 degrees, your coordinates get flipped around. So the x coordinate would contain that, and the y coordinate would contain that. And then you also have to decide whether you're positive or negative. So in this quadrant, my x value would be negative, and my y value would be negative. Okay? And the last example here. Can you simplify? Cosecant of angle over cotangent angle. Okay, so we know that cosecant is the opposite of sine. Okay, and cotangent is the opposite of tangent. Now I'm doing y over r, and instead of dividing by this fraction, I'm going to times by oops, sorry, here we go. Made a mistake there. X over r, or x over y is the opposite of tangent. So then I'm going to times and flip that fraction. And then when I see that, I can see the y's would cancel, and you get r over x. So this ends up being, well, that's the opposite of cos, so this would be simplify into secant angle.